Welcome to the Simpler Business Podcast, where we talk about ways to do what you love and serve your people in a way that brings you income and freedom. I'm your host, Marissa Roberts. Join me as I chat with my favorite entrepreneurs about how they simplify their biz so that you can simplify yours. Live launches are intense and can put your business into feast or famine mode. Big influxes of cash every few months, but nothing in between. Evergreen funnels have gained popularity in recent years because they give you the opportunity to bring in regular cash flow without the intensity of launches. So in theory, it's a set and forget job. You create your funnel, you turn it on, and you let it do your selling for you. The promise of predictability and stability with your income is very appealing, but what happens when you put all of your effort into creating your evergreen sales funnel and it doesn't convert? What happens to the people on your email list who go through your funnel and don't buy? It seems we have pros and cons for both launches and evergreen, but did you know there's another option you can consider? My guest today teaches agencies, coaches, and course creators how to automate their sales without the stress of live launching or relying on evergreen strategies that might fall short of their goals. As the visionary CEO and founder of Nicki K Media, Nicki Krawczyk loves to challenge the conventional norms of live launching and traditional evergreen strategies. Her proven methodologies provide course creators with a predictable path to success, freeing them from the stress and limitations of outdated approaches. Her circuit sales system has all of the excitement of live launching, but without the stress and risk. And it's got all of the predictability of evergreen, but without the low conversions. So Nicki, welcome. I am so excited that you're here today.
Yay, I'm excited to be here, Marissa.
It's going to be such a good conversation because launch versus evergreen is constantly something I'm hearing about in our digital marketing world. And I've tried both, and I think if I had to pick out of the two, I'd pick evergreen because that's what's worked best for me. But I think that's because my personality is somebody who, I'm not great with a big live launch. I'm not big with heavy, lots of planning and that sort of thing, and then having to be on at a particular time. I stress out with that stuff. But I do find with evergreen, I've had so many hurdles as well. When you first get started, you don't really know what's going to sell. You don't know how much time and effort and money to put into something and what sort of return you're going to get on that. So it's a very risky thing, especially if we're talking about a lot of our listeners on the show who are typically coaches and service providers who want to add more passive income to their business. So they love the idea of launching a program or a product, but there's that fear behind it. Is it going to work out? So yeah, I think people are going to get a lot of out of our convo today. Do you find the people that you work with have the same sort of problems?
Yeah, absolutely. We get what I hear again and again is, live launching we get some people that are like, I liked live launch, but it was just too stressful. Or we get people who say, I didn't like to live launch, but that's what I was told I had to do, which is very common. Everybody says that you have to be live launching, And then there's the other side of that, the evergreen. And so people go, I don't like live launching, so then I'll try evergreen. Because again, that's another. Everybody says you can transition from live launching to evergreen, and to a person, anybody who's tried evergreen and says, I tried it and I thought it was going to be the solution, and then it just didn't convert, and then they're disappointed, they're frustrated, they end up having to go back to live launching, and it's just a cycle of disillusionment and frustration. So I'm here to kind of break people out of that it does not have to be one or the other.
Oh, good. I love that because it's going to take a lot of pressure off people, because I know when I've talked to clients in the past and even friends in the industry, and they've had either a live launch that massively stressed them out or an evergreen program that kind of flopped a little bit, especially in the first year or two. Like it might have picked up momentum in the long run, but right at the start, it was practically crickets. And that kicked in their imposter syndrome every time. And once your imposter syndrome kicks in, you don't want to do anything anymore. You're like, I'm just going to give up and get a regular job again. I'm not going online anymore. Nobody wants my stuff. Yeah. And actually the right people are out there. They just haven't met you yet. So yeah I think.
Well, and it's such a pity too, because for all those people who are getting frustrated and thinking, you know what, I'm just not going to do it, it's not worth it. Think of all those people who need what they have to offer that are not going to get it. or they're going to get something it's not as good of a solution from somebody else. So for every business owner that gets frustrated and says, all right, you know what, I give up, I'm going to go back to a day job, or maybe I'm just going to, lick my wounds for a while and figure out what I'm going to do next. Think of all of the people that need what they have to offer, what we have to offer, that aren't getting it. Yeah. And so it's not to, I mean this as a pep talk, not to add stress by any means, but our audience needs what we have to offer. So we have to figure out a way to get our programs to them, but in a way that works for us and for our businesses, but also in a way that works for our target audiences too.
Yeah, exactly. All right, good. Well, I've got some questions for you that I tend to hear time and time again too, and I bet you do as well. So can we start with why in your opinion, do you think people struggle with evergreen sales for their programs? Like, what do you see happening again and again?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because there are really two kinds of evergreen that people do, right? One is evergreen. They say, all right, well, people like my program, people have bought it and launches, so I'm just going to put it up on my website and let people buy it whenever they want to. And at first it can sound like, oh, okay, well, if people want it, then they can go to my website and they buy it. But that does not convert. It just doesn't convert because human beings require a deadline. If people can buy whenever, they just won't. I mean, you'll see, one or two sales come in here and there, but without a deadline, there's no incentive for them to purchase right now, which means that they just don't purchase. They put it off and put it off and put it off until they're just not interested in it anymore, and they forget about us. The other side of that is evergreen funnels, and I have not yet seen an evergreen program, and I have not seen all of them. Certainly, I don't want to disparage anyone by any means, but the ones that I see are built on principles that just fundamentally don't work. They're built on the teach model, which is not an effective way to sell, even though that's something a lot of us fall back on because we're used to teaching in our courses, but they're based on that teach model, and that does not convert. And then it's also, the thing about a funnel is that they go one way. So we get people into the funnel, and if they don't purchase during our, I want to say boring, but I don't want to be mean, are less than exciting. We'll put it that way. Are less than exciting funnel experience. If they don't purchase, then we just dump them on our list and we give up on them. It's a one-way trip to languishing on our list and becoming stale. Yeah. And it doesn't work.
You know what? I've had that experience with stuff as well, and I love an automated funnel because it makes my business really streamlined and easy to use, but the conversions aren't the same as they are when I'm doing a live launch. But then I don't want to put in the effort and have the exposure of a live launch either. And actually, speaking of live launches, what have you seen there? Like, have you seen reasons that live launches aren't a great option as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, live launches can work, but by and large, live launches have some fundamental problems to them. Number one, like we were saying, they're incredibly stressful. It is the idea of banking our revenue. Like if you live launch once a quarter, maybe let's say it's once a quarter. And even that is a lot more often than some people do, but let's say it's once a quarter. The idea of banking on your entire revenue for 3 months on like 1 week's launch is so risky. So no wonder it's stressful. No other industry does this, by the way. That's like, yeah, I think we're just going to close our eyes, pick a week, and gamble all of our revenue for the quarter on that week. Cross your fingers. Here we go. It's riskful. It's risky. It's stressful. And it also, it's unpredictable. I'm sure you and I both know plenty of business owners who had a great launch. And they're like, great. We finally figured out, we know what to do. We're just going to do the same thing next time. And they do the exact same thing next time, but same presentation, same audience, same ad, same whatever. And it tanks. And then you have the added stress of all of your revenue for that quarter, on top of the fact that now you don't know what to do next time because what you did before doesn't work. And then on top of the fact that live launching is yes, it's stressful, but it's also very self-serving. We are forcing people to purchase on our timelines.
Mm.
We're forcing people to show up for live events on our timelines. And whether we have paid to get people on our list through ads, or whether we have paid with time and energy to get people organically, everybody that is on our list, we have worked to get on that list. So when we limit when and how they can get access and effectively penalize people for having lives, we're doing a real disservice to our audiences, the people who need what we have to offer, but we're putting up gates that are unnecessary. And like I said, you do need deadlines, and there's ways to make that work. But when we say, if you want this, you have to show up in this 1 hour time period or whatever, it does a disservice to the people that we're actually trying to help.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think when you look at both Evergreen funnels and live launching, they both appear polished on the outside, especially if you're somebody who's relatively new to the online world and you see somebody else doing it and you think, oh, it's amazing. It's so, sparkly and everything looks great. But they're actually both quite clunky behind the scenes, really. Yeah. So what's the alternative then? Is it doesn't sound appealing to go, okay, well, they're both a little bit crap sometimes, so I've just got to pick the least crap version for me. Have you got like another option that you recommend?
Yeah, exactly. It's a false idea that you need a live launch in order to have excitement and to get people excited and interested in purchasing your product. So first of all, I love automation. I love it. Live launching, way too stressful. I can also get much better results in the automated system that I've created. So I will say straight off the bat, if you like to do live events, you can still incorporate live events, certainly, but it is so much better to have a predictable income stream and to know the dials that you turn to increase that income stream and to know roughly what you're going to make each quarter. And if you want to make a little bit more, or month or week or whatever, you turn those dials. But so you don't need to live launch to have excitement. So people are thinking, oh, my audience needs to see me live. No, they may like to see you live. They may be used to seeing you live, but it's all about the messaging that you give them and also the way that you deliver it. But at the same time too, like I said, we can't rely on that teach method. The thing is that learning, while very important, don't get me wrong, learning is fundamentally an energy draining activity, right? Like if you think back to going to school, right? Like yes, there are some people, but in general, we weren't raring to get up and go to school to learn, maybe to see friends, and even as business owners, when we buy courses, and I will tell you, I'll be the first one to say that I do this. I get excited, I buy a course, and I'm like, yeah, I bought the course. And then a week later, I'm like, oh, I actually have to
log in,
watch the course. Yeah. Putting my credit card down didn't just download it into my brain because it's an energy draining activity. And unfortunately, when we put people into automated sequences that ask them to learn, because we're teaching, because again, that's what we fall back on. We're taking people who were excited, because people are most excited for our solution when they first get in touch with us. We're taking people at that point of excitement, and we're just draining that excitement through them, through all of that learning, all of that teaching. And obviously there's a place for learning, but the place for learning is after they purchase from us, where we have all kinds of ways to support them and to encourage them to use the content and all of that kind of thing. But we need to get away from this idea of teaching as the way to sell, because it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. So tell us more about your circuit sales system then. How is that different? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the fundamental elements are things that people are familiar with, right? We have videos, we have emails, we have land. It's not like I've developed some kind of crazy new software or some kind of new, it's exactly magical. There's a button and it just puts a spell on everybody. Kind of. But I actually, it's the system that we now call the circuit sales system, I developed in the end of 2018 to sell my first course, which is a professional copywriting course. And what I did, my background is in copywriting. I've been a copywriter for more than 20 years. So it is my deepest knowledge. And so what I did was I knew I didn't want a live launch, so it had to be automated. But I also took a step back and said, all right, of all of this, you have to do this, you have to do this. What actually works? So I leaned into my messaging expertise and my customer psychology expertise and built out a system where, yes, it is emails, there's a video, we call it our light bulb video, which we can reuse in multiple places and landing pages and that kind of thing. But the way that we put forth information is very, very different. It's not about teaching. It's about, which again, just kind of drains that excitement. It's about creating breakthroughs that actually inspire people to want to follow us more and inspire people, or I don't even want to say inspire, but persuade people of our expertise and gets them more excited to purchase within that a very short period of time of getting to know us.
I really like that idea because as somebody who's watched a lot of webinars and been a consumer in a lot of launches, I think you've really nailed it with that feeling of the teaching is an energy drain, because I can think of webinars where I haven't bought, and it's because I've felt like there's been so much on the webinar that I have to go and action all of that before I even think about buying the program, right? And then, of course, I go away and I'm already really busy. And then I think it ends up being a case of, if I don't have time to action all of that now, I won't have time to action the program. So that really resonated with me. And then I can think of other webinars now where I've had my card out ready to go halfway through the webinar going, can you just show me how to do it? Because I feel amazing. I really want to get in and do this. And that feeling of I need to dive in, that's always the thing that's present when I think to myself, I want to get that program. I need to do that. I'm looking for it. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And I don't have that feeling of, oh God, now I've got to find time to do it. So yeah, it's almost like there's been, and as a consumer, I can't really spot the distinction. I don't know what it was, or I didn't know until you said that about the training on the webinar. Yeah, that's totally nailed it.
Exactly. And I think that if you watch the video for our program, for our students, you can't from the outside necessarily understand the distinction, because you do go away with new ideas, right? With new understandings, but it's not from being taught to, it's not the how, you're getting the what and the why. And the what and the why is enough to help you understand that, oh, there is a solution to my problem. Oh, this is the solution to my problem. And oh, this person is definitely the person I need to buy that solution from. Yeah,
I love that. And I think this would be really good in particular for coaches and course creators, right? This would help them.
Yeah, it's really good we have a lot of coaches, group coaches. We have a lot of course creators. It can actually work too for one-to-one services. They just want to, if you have one-to-one services, you obviously have a limited number of hours in the day. So you might want to not promote it, not promote your video, not promote what we call the circuit, what you put together too much, because then you don't want to have too many people coming in and purchasing. You might just have to control it a little bit more. But at the same time too, if you have enough people, you can send them to your wait list or whatever you want to do. Yeah.
And that's a good point. And you know what? That's a good problem to have in your business. There's too many people are lined up to work with me.
Yeah, I don't mind that. That's fine.
Yeah. All right. So have you got any examples of people who have done the circuit system and who have seen a big change in their results? Like any before and afters, any stories that you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have a couple I can share. One of them is a woman named Natalie, who is a board certified geropsychologist. She's one of like a dozen in the country. And she teaches a program called Care Blazers. And I think it's called the Care program, but her concept is Care Blazers and teaching people who care for loved ones with dementia how to do it, because there aren't a lot of real resources. And previous to working with us, she was live launching every single week. And she didn't take vacations, but she felt that that's what she needed to, because she couldn't rely on one launch a quarter. She knew that wasn't smart, but on the other side, she was trying to do it, it was just taking over her life. But at the same time too, she felt so called because it is such an important course.
Yeah.
So what she ended up doing was joined our program, instituted a circuit. She actually raised, I want to say she doubled the cost of her program, which is very much worth it. It's a fantastic program. Double the cost of her program, and went from averaging, last time I talked to her, went from averaging $40,000 months and live launching every single week to not live launching at all and averaging $70,000 months. So not quite doubling her income, but getting real close. And this should be her first 7-figure year, which we're very excited about. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I love that she's in an industry where she's not it's not a business to business program, because it's always nice to hear of examples of people who are like, yes, this is a business to customer sort of thing. So I like to see a bit of both, really, because you want to make sure it's going to work across the board. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another quick one, we just talked to her for our podcast a couple of weeks ago, but one of our students, Kendra, she teaches a program, which I'm not going to do it justice, because as she was digging into it, it's very, very interesting. But it's like hair analysis to find out what kind of nutrients people are missing, and just really, really interesting. And I think she taught, this is kind of a B2B, because she teaches other practitioners how to do the test and how to use it for their clients. And but she had put together this course and she just couldn't figure out how to sell it. So she had it on her website. Every once in a while, someone would buy and people would visit it, but nobody would purchase. And so she put together her circuit for it, turned it on, didn't really do any promotion for it. I think by the time we talked to her, she was thinking about sending it to her list, and then further out thinking about doing ads. But from the time that she turned it on to, I think, the 3 months later that we talked to her, she'd made $55,000 from it without promoting it at all. Now, she had some SEO that was going well for her but she just kind of turned it on. And she was saying, I took a vacation and I was in Italy and I kept getting all these pings that I was making sales. And I was like, oh yes,
that's the
life. Yes. Aperol spritz. Yeah. Okay. And the fun thing is we're hearing all kinds of stories like that from our students, and it's fantastic. And like you said, in all kinds of different industries, B2C, B2B, all kinds of different stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that really is testament to the idea that this is people who are discovering her and wanting to buy straight away. If she's being able to go on vacation, she hasn't had to do any promotion of it. That really is an indication
it's all built in.
Yeah, done it correctly. Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. Okay. So if people want to find out more about how the system works, and the step-by-step, like what to include and basically the behind the scenes so that they can do it themselves. What's the best way for them to learn how to do that?
Yeah, exactly. You can find us at circuitselling.com, find some information about us, about our program. You can opt in to see our video. Certainly you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook and all that kind of thing. But digging in at circuitselling.com is the best way to get started.
Wonderful. I hear you have a masterclass that walks everybody through it. Yes. Okay. I'll make sure I've got the link in the show notes then, so people can find it nice and easy, because I think this is really what we're looking for, especially this sort of time in the industry. So I've been working in online marketing for about 12 years now. And so I remember when I first started, it was like nothing. Nobody had any ideas. No one knew what they were doing. And then boom, live launching started and everyone was like, yeah, okay, that's the only way to do it. And then this whole thing came up, this big surge of, we hate live launches, we're going evergreen funnels. And so I've seen all of that happen, but I haven't seen a balanced option yet where people can actually put their time and effort into something and actually see a result pretty much straight away that doesn't burn them out. So for me, I'm like, I'm watching the masterclass. I'm going to go and dive in even deeper. I think this is going to be a focus for me next year, because I'm all about the balance. And I think our listeners are exactly the same. We're so busy running our business. We're busy with the day-to-day. We get nervous about the marketing and the sales, and it's kind of a procrastination thing too, right?
Yeah. Well, and the thing is too, is when we are putting all of our time and energy and focus into these live launches because we have to do it, or promoting or marketing, what we end up doing is taking time away from the people who paid us, right? Like the people who should be getting our time and our energy and all of that kind of thing. So once you have your circuit going, yes, you obviously have to make sure that you're getting people into it, and you can do organic, you can do ads, do whatever you want to do. But once you get people in there, it runs automatically. And it's not just one opportunity to purchase. Like we were saying with funnels, we're not giving up on anybody. If a lot of people will purchase right away, but if they don't, there are going to be additional opportunities for them to purchase, but it's all hands off. And we get to focus on our clients, who are the people who deserve it.
I love that. That sounds amazing. I can't wait to jump in and learn more. I hope everybody out there has really enjoyed this conversation as much as I've enjoyed having it, Nicki. You have been a gem to have on the show. It's really nice to get a different perspective on something. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
It really was. I'm so excited to learn more. All right. So I'll make sure I've got all your links in the show notes. For anybody listening, come and have a chat with us on Instagram if you want to know more, or go through and do Nicki's masterclass, because I think it's going to be a bit of a game changer for your business next year. So I hope you all had a great listen, and I'll see you in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Simpler Business Podcast. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to make it nice and easy for you, just the way we like it. If you're ready to simplify and scale your business, you can get started with my free audio class at marissaroberts.com. See you next time.